Congratulations on hitting your new role. Welcome to the team as a field sales representative. Here's your territory. But wait, by the way, the last rep only lasts 6 months. The one before that, 3 months. And if we're being honest, the territory hasn't been properly worked in over a year. Good luck, right? If you've been in field sales long enough, you've certainly inherited a dead territory. And you have to hit your number. It's not if, but how. And so let's talk about a game plan where we can get you back on track in 90 days to hitting those numbers. Let's talk about the first 30 days. This is about assessment and quick wins. First, you got to get a lay of the land. Understand where your customers are at, where the potential customers are at. Collect data, get your list put together, go through the CRM if you have one, and understand the lay of the land. If 80% of your territory's revenue comes from a handful of customers, you know exactly what happened. That rep got comfortable and only focused on a handful, and we're going to turn that around. All right, so here's what to look for. Who are your active customers and when did they last buy? Who are the dormant customers? Those are ones that haven't purchased in 6+ months. What's a geographic makeup look like? How big's your territory? Is there concentrations of prospects and customers in different parts of the territory? And then finally, are there entire gaps in your territory? We're talking whole zip codes that nobody's even touched. So once you have that, it's about how do we get some quick wins? Sure, new revenue, new sales would be great, but that's probably not going to happen in your first 30 days. And so let's think about some quick wins that you can get to show your manager that you're out there making it happen. This could be conversations with old customers that haven't bought in a while. This could be appointments set with potential customers that y'all have never spoken with. Just communication. These are the leading indicators, the leading activities that over time will build up as you build your pipeline and lead to revenue generated down the line. And of course, you're going to visit your active accounts, those ones that are consistent and they're purchasing. You're going to introduce yourself to all the key stakeholders, build rapport, but also get to understand their business. Just don't assume that the previous owner of the territory put in the same amount of work and effort that you're going to. So start back at the basics and just get to know the business, become an expert on their business. Do your homework before you go into those meetings. There's so many tools available now where you can do that work ahead of time. And then finally, map your territory appropriately. You have to understand where each of your customers are at, where the pockets are, where your potential prospects are. This is going to prevent you from bouncing around and driving all over the place. We got to be productive. We got to turn over some stones and a lot of them in a little bit of time so we can start building momentum in this territory. All right, so let's talk about day 31 through 60. This second month, we're going to build a process. This is the process that the previous territory owner never had, but you're going to. First off, we have to understand how many customers do we have and are they even being properly worked? What I mean by that, if you have 500 customers, you can't visit them all every week. So we're going to have to look at how we tier those out. You're going to probably have your A, B, and C tier. And the A, they may be the ones that buy the most. It may also be the ones that have the most potential to buy. You're going to have to work on that because you know your customer base by now, but you're going to tier them out and decide how often you're going to go and visit these customers or prospects and how often you're going to get in front of them. Once you've done that, you'll create your systematic approach for how you're going to actually get in front of these customers. These are things like route planning. If you're going to go visit 50 customers a week or 10 a day, how are you going to choose that plan so you can effectively get in front of them, making 10 stops a day while also sprinkling in some prospecting calls if that's what you're tasked with doing along the way. And because you've planned this out, you're going to make sure there's no gaps or areas that haven't been touched. You've uncovered those during the first 30 days. And so now your job is to build into your process so those never get untouched again. But you have to build it into your daily and weekly rhythm, that you're going to stay in front of these customers until they buy from you and get to know them. It takes time, but you're building a process and this compounds as you go along. So you put in the effort consistently and your pipeline will start to build. And that's when you're going to see an explosion in opportunities and then revenue over time. And last, but certainly not least, for day 31 through 60 is you got to track everything, right? How many stops are you making a day, a week? Who are you speaking with? Taking notes on the conversations that you've had. How many appointments have you created with customers that you haven't spoken with in a while? How many new prospects have you brought to the table? You need to track everything and know your numbers, right? After you've done this for a long time, you can kind of get lost in the sauce. Maybe you thought you visited 50 customers this week, but it was really only 25. Well, if you do that week over week, that lack of activity is going to catch up with you. So track everything so you know what your metrics are at and what you're shooting for. All right, day 61 through 90, here we go. This is about expansion. And this is when the work you've done in the first 60 days should hopefully start to pay off, of course, depending on your sales cycle. Most of the other reps would have given up by now. Matter of fact, they have in your territory in the past, but not you. You're here to make this happen. So here's the key. We've got to stay consistent, right? Stick with your prospecting plan, stick with your account coverage plan, your tier A, B, and C. You're going to continue to visit those at the schedule that you've set out. You're going to continue following up. You're going to continue building rapport. You're going to continue getting to know their business, and you should start to see some pipeline build. These are some sales opportunities that you can start to turn into revenue. At the same time, you've uncovered some additional prospects in your area that haven't maybe never been talked to, or certainly haven't been touched in a long time, and you're starting to add those into your process too. And at this point, it's about rinsing and repeating. You can see we're doing a combination of different things. We're bringing in customers that are ready to buy, those ones that are consistent. We're building rapport with them and going to get that revenue. We're also generating business from customers that we haven't seen in 6+ months, ones that have fallen off. We've reactivated those. And we've also prospected into completely new accounts that may not even know we existed. Those are going to take the longest to close, but as we do this over time, it really starts to pay off. So as you can tell, what we've been doing is focusing on pipeline generation, not just securing another dollar. And this is going to take time. As you build up pipeline, it may take 4, 5, or 6 months, again, depending on your sales cycle, but don't stop. This is what pays off for the long term. You can never stop building pipeline. You're a salesperson. This is what your job is, right? You just got to keep going, stay committed, and don't quit. So now that you're approaching 90 days in, you're going to start to notice some patterns in your territory. You're going to start to understand which customers are more open to buying from you, to visiting with you, which industries or verticals are you having success with from a prospecting basis, which pockets of geography do you want to spend more time in, and you just need to revise your approach based on those patterns that you're seeing to accelerate success going into the 90 to 120 day. All along this time, you're going to want to communicate with your manager. You're probably not seeing the level of revenue you need yet to hit quota. That's okay. We're only 3 months in, right? But if you're communicating up the early successes you're having, then that builds a lot of confidence in your ability to execute in this territory. So again, these are things like appointments set. These are early indicators of success to come. Show them the plan that you've created, the geographic plan that you have, the way that you're dividing up your turf, the routes you're creating. It's going to go a long way to build trust, and that you're the person that's going to revive this territory and bring it back to life and get more out of it than anybody's done. All right, so let's go over a handful of common mistakes that have happened. First off is trying to boil the ocean. This is going to take time. You can't do everything in your first 30 days. That's why you have a plan and execute on it. Don't try to boil the ocean. Number 2 is cherry picking like the previous rep did. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones that you can hit your quota based off a few customers buying, but that's probably not the case. They brought you in to do what hasn't been done in this turf before, and that's get more out of it. So you're gonna have to work your whole customer base, not just cherry pick a certain few. Also, give up too early. You can't stop, right? This is gonna take time. Don't get on that sales roller coaster where you work real hard, build pipeline, get some closes, and then you have to start that process all over again. You're gonna have to be consistent. You're gonna have to consistently nurture your existing customers, find new ones. That's how you're gonna build this territory. And finally, not tracking your work. We know how important it is to take notes, to log your appointments, to log activity. Who'd you speak with? What'd they say? Who have you not spoken with yet? You have to track your work. Don't make that mistake. So those are 4 common mistakes that we've seen when you inherit a bad territory, and don't make them. All right, so wrapping it up, let's be honest with each other. Inheriting a bad territory, it just sucks. It's tough, it's challenging, and nobody wants to do it, but somebody does, and I believe in you that you can revive it. Don't give up, stay consistent. That's the number one thing that I've seen just derail this whole process, is you give up too early. You have to stay consistent time and time and time again. I've worked with thousands of sales reps here during my time at SPOTIO, and the successful ones, they have a process and they continue working that process, and they iterate along the way to dial it in and make it better. If you do that, you're sure to rise to the top of that quota mountain, top of the leaderboard, and be the hero of the office that turned this horrible territory back into one that's successful. And by the way, if you're staring at a dead territory right now, or you have a whole map of dead territories as a sales leader, that's exactly what we built SPOTIO for. You can do all of these things that I mentioned inside of our technology and enable your team, or if you're an individual rep, enable yourself to attack that territory in a way, in a process that's going to work and get all the meat off that bone and revive that dead territory to bring it back to life. So what's your experience been reviving a dead territory? What worked for you that I didn't mention? I'd love to know.